Well, hello people, and welcome back to part 3 of Kokai, our modded Cities 2 detail build. We're having a wonderful day. We have a woman here partaking in some sand yoga. The latest craze to hit the tropical island. Cheeky little face as well while she does it. You guys, yes, last episode gave me the idea of actually setting this up to become a park area, which we actually have done. So using this function here, parks, spaces and areas, we said it to be a park area. You can see the district here, and it essentially makes it so people will walk and enjoy the beach. And we've also got invisible walking pathways through here as well. Now, if we have a look at that very briefly, there we go. You see this invisible pathway here. So this will just make our Sims actually come and enjoy the beach. Now they do, they do slightly sink into the sand, which I'm not sure how we fix that. It is quicksand, however, it doesn't have a lot of resistance. People are able to walk through it. So they are using the beach, although not initially how I envisioned they would. But here you go, right? We can see people walking across that park area now. How exciting is that? So we now have a properly active beach. Absolutely stunning. And yeah, they're going to walk to the other side of town. How great is that? So thank you for the suggestions. And indeed, welcome back to our tropical island community. So last episode, I didn't notice that we were actually poisoning our Sims with the water pollution. So that was an issue with the groundwater here. So we have pollutive sources here with the landfill and of course our industry. And because this groundwater source was connected to them, it was actually poisoning them. I didn't realize that. So what you want to do is you make sure you use your groundwater resource tool in order to actually make sure your groundwater pumping is entirely isolated from any other pocket of water. Otherwise, it's going to poison it. So you just want to make sure that you sever them like this, just with a right click. You can see how it separates the groundwater. Just want to make sure they're isolated so they don't bleed into the rest of the island's groundwater. That's what was happening, and our Sims no longer have poisoned water anymore. They're now just pissed off that they can't send anything via post. So that should be fixed now. And we have also named the first town after one of the wonderful extra landscaping tools team as well that I've made all this detailing possible. So the first town goes to the beautiful Welsh human being with fantastic character. That is Sully. So this whole town will encompass pretty much this area by the time it's finished. And today's episode, we're going to do that farm that we spoke about in recent episodes too. So let's get on with it. Let's come into our dirt roads here. Now we do have a little road that goes just kind of up the mountains here, I suppose, and over there again. So I wouldn't mind making this a crossing here. Now we'll probably use alleyway road for that, eventually upgrading it into highway. Now we could do the super node trick here, but we need the larger roundabouts to get that really. So maybe we'll do that at a later date. We'll see how traffic performs with this connection. Might not do amazing, but we'll just wait and see. And then we'll come back to that dirt road. So I want this to come right off the highway, and then just for it to generally kind of come up into this area. Like them to not be super straight roads. And we'll base our main farmyard, I reckon, around this sort of area. Let's try not make it perfectly boxed and square as well. I bring some different shapes, sizes, and angles. Something like that. Let's come into our specialized industries. So we can do a mix of the different fields here today, and we'll also do some mock fields as well to help with the detailing. So let's have our first farm rock up about here. Super. So that gives us our first field. Obviously, this is kind of, especially this edge here, is overly harsh. But we'll detail this up with mock fields, because when we come into our surfaces menu, I think it's ground surfaces, is it? Where is it? Yeah, these ground surfaces here, we have pods of scattered leaves, the actual agriculture surface itself, which we can repurpose to kind of fill some space that isn't functional farmland. So we'll get that involved as well. You guys don't have any services, that's because the highway doesn't have this, does it? So let's upgrade our highway road to have lighting on it. That way power will transfer. And then we'll also do some water pipes as well, where we do have our ground pumping station. So that should connect straight in. And everyone should be happy. Super. I want to make sure we can see the farms from the town here as well. It's going to be quite a key aesthetic. I'm happy with that. I'd also like this groundwater pumping station to really be factored into the farm as well. So let's come into our tree bush and just get rid of these trees here. And then I love this dirt road here to just connect straight into the farmyard. Let's go for 180 degrees. That'll be okay. And then let's have a look at creating some more textures here. So let's go for another specialized industry. And let's do some vegetable farming. So let's align this one nearby toward the highway. Something like this, maybe. I like to keep this one a little boxier, so I don't want to go right up to the edge of the circle radius here. And let's go right to the top. And then we'll bring it back down just past the pumping station. And that's going to be a great drive pass for the highway, isn't it? And we do get a little greenhouse out in the field there, which I'm not usually a massive lover of those, but to be honest, I don't hate it there. I think it's all right. We may end up removing it, but I think for right now, we'll just leave it in and see how it settles in. But that'll at least give us some more farming land here. So now I want to explore kind of just helping to break up what is essentially relentless grain with maybe a little bit of podzol, perhaps. So why don't we create kind of a small little micro field, say next door. We will go for angle here, and let's go. So that's the podzol texture, which is okay. It is a little bit reflective. I think maybe some trees might help that settle in a little bit. Maybe a field that's not particularly in use. Let's have a bunch of different ages to tree here. I have actually removed the tree control at this point, by the way. But then we'll have something that roughly looks like that. I think I can get away with it. The podzol texture is a little jarring, but I think I'll be alright with it. And then of course a classic net lane will also go well here as well. Let's go for fence network. Anything wooden would be great here. Yeah, let's do this little small industrial fence. And let's just map this right up against the edge of the highway to appear something like that. And as a general proof of concept, we can start to create some mock fields alongside the highway here now, can't we? I don't hate that at all. I think we can get on board with it. And of course, this will help him to actually supply jobs as well, whilst also contributing to the city's production chains, of course, because we do have need for this stuff in the game. And we could possibly use some animals, although I would rather utilize fertile land. So let's do another one. I don't want them all just off of this single dirt road, so let's try to bring just some small little sub roads out from that. And then we'll throw down another one here. This will be a textile farm. Something like that there. So this one should also spawn with some odd buildings in it. I believe the textiles does as well, doesn't it? We have fire in the town. Is everyone okay? I have also just slightly amended our budgets again now too. Due to the new patch, we can afford to fully fund our services again. So 100% for healthcare, 90% for fire and police. Now we're using those smaller service assets in the main town anyway. So that's not looking too bad. We're starting to see that kind of patchwork field pattern appear now, aren't we? Which is really the aesthetic I want to work with. Alongside seeing kind of farm fence alongside highways is also pretty important for me today as well. I think we'll also do a little bit more with this office park here too today. It's just a bit out on its own, isn't it? So maybe give it a little car park or something, just so it's not so kind of isolated. So far we have a grain, vegetable, and cotton farm. Why don't we introduce another little surface over here? So let's come back into them. We did podzol before. How does the scattered leaves look in this map, I wonder? Not too bad. It is quite bright, isn't it? How about the mulch? Yeah, I think certainly mulch we could get away with, couldn't we? Just a field that hasn't been planted. So let's have this one right up here. I don't want it to go right up to the edge of the pumping station there, so I think we'll leave it a little bit of a green border and put some trees in there maybe. And how does that mulch look? It's quite red, isn't it? It's very red actually. It's also super reflective. That one is a little bit more odd, I think. Yes, that's much more of the contrast I was after, I think. So I reckon we'll run with scattered leaves, actually. And then let's just have some more oaks through this way. Just create a bit of a barrier against that industrial infrastructure that lies within the district of the farmland itself. Keep bringing those tree lines in too. Fantastic. So I'd love to see, like, just be able to glimpse through to that groundwater pumping station as you're kind of coming on the highway here. I would really like that you can kind of just see that through the tree line. Awesome. So that continues to develop the packwork field here. I think over here we'll possibly save for a little bit of detailing. So why don't we paint out a little bit of riverbed base, which will just give us that kind of stonier, dirtier kind of farm ground that you would expect to find in farmyards. Yeah, that sort of stuff. We'll probably do this over here as well, actually, I reckon, kind of in the main farmyard itself, because I think that grass is just a bit too clean cut for what you would expect to find in a farmyard, if you like. So we'll bring this through too. Yeah, fabulous. That's much better, isn't it? We got some props in there as well during our design time lapse. Oh, wonderful. And we actually have tractors harvesting the fields. That is a big improvement for farming industry, isn't it? To actually see tractors like moving around. It's very much like we did with the forestry in Edinburgh, like to see the forestry vehicles actually harvesting the trees and then the trees grow back. It's very cool. Someone actually stood here with their dog. You alright? What, is she an employee here at Common Groceries? She is indeed. Well, get to work, love. You can't just stand in the farmyard all day. Cool. So I think we've got enough of these textures now, so I reckon these 3 buildings are probably alright. And then we'll build up the rest. Now, if we do come into our buildings here, let's go for industrial. We can actually place quite a lot of these buildings just as ploppables. Now, if I was to place down some of the agriculture buildings, I don't believe they function, do they? No, it says they do. So I would like some more buildings, I guess. So let's bring a dirt road up along this field. We'll just stick to the angle here, I think. Actually, no, let's do a little custom one. Let's have it go out there. And then we will come back to our buildings. Let's go to specialized industry. We can also have some custom greenhouses here too, which I'd love to explore. So let's bring our building over this way. Let's have possibly a row of them. We'll see if that pans out. Let's go back to our specialized. So agriculture greenhouse 1, 2, 3. How do we feel about that there? Yeah. Yeah, I think I can appreciate that. How deep are these? It's about 6 tiles, isn't it? So let's make sure we leave 6 behind. About there should be appropriate. And then let's just use move it to refine their positions. Can we push them back in together a little bit, I wonder? Essentially just trying to piece together a larger greenhouse facility here. Something like that. Yeah, and then I wouldn't mind a few more trees knocking about in the farm here as well. Rather than filling every single possible space with buildings and fields, I would like to have essentially what remained of a natural forest here right before it was all cut down to be farmland. This is once upon a time what filled the entire farm space. And then maybe we can also plan for another little farmyard out here as well, next door to them. Just maybe where some tools stored or where a tractor can pull over, etc. Whatever justification we want to give for it. I can also pull that all the way down here too. And I guess we might as well pull it over the whole thing actually, hadn't we? That way it gives a little bit more texture to what's going on there. And how do we feel about that? Yeah, so they're not going to function, I don't think, are they? Yeah, they just seem to be essentially sub-buildings, so that should be alright. Happy with that. And then let's connect in some of these farm tracks again too. Let's have one come directly out this way. And then this space here we can fill with possibly another field. think we'll go for a little bit more scattered leaf texture. So let's get that in again. Great, let's just delete those palms off of it, and that should be alright. We got a big influx of new arrivals, have we? Must be coming over from last episode's population expansion, perhaps. It will eventually come in. So I'm just changing up the edge of one of these fields here to be a little straighter. There we go. And then I'm wondering if we can actually use some of Sully's ground surfaces for a little bit of a change up in texture as well. Perhaps some of the golden sand. Let's run this one up to the edge of this highway. Try change the shape of it a little bit around the tree line. Something like that, and saving room for those trees again to come up against the edge of the road. And that should blend in, shouldn't it? Even though it's not obviously one of the named agriculture surfaces, I think it still blends in pretty well there, doesn't it? And if that looks like a nice space for a road, I reckon we can have like a little isolated kind of farm or tool yard down here, maybe. Something that just comes out here, and we'll develop this during our detailing time lapse, I think. So in terms of the farmyard detailing here, let's grab some of our other farm style buildings. This one does have some animals in it. And let's also come back into FindIt, and we'll search for farm as well, just in the general search. And we'll get a bunch of trailers. We can bring some of these in too. Let's say we have some lined up in the middle of the yard. And then when we come down for vehicles, we should be able to find a tractor or two in here as well. Yeah, there we go. So we can just have our little tractors knocking about in the yard. We want stored up over here too. Just having access to all these props is going to make it so much cooler. Maybe just some kind of storage here where they're keeping farmyard equipment. Bring some trees into the farmyard too. Various different ages and sizes, of course. And then you'll get the general idea of how this central farmyard space can develop, right? We should also be able to find some bales as well, I think, if we come down into a generic search here. So we can get some kind of wrapped silage. There's also kind of square bales here as well. Do silage over this way. And of course, we can even elevate these as well. So let's come up to 1 meter. So we do 2 meters. Just want them kind of sitting in the crease of the bale below them. I think we can get away with it. That looks about right, does it? Because I'm going to look at the wrong angle here, aren't I? It's going to look totally weird. But I reckon we can get away with that, can't we? So just slight elevations to create little outcrops like that. Be happy with that, I think. I have noticed just as the episode's gone on, we've had a lot of people whinging about the postal service. So I think where we are here, we're going to introduce the small post office into the town. Everyone around here would love a postie, so let's see if we can find a little bit of spare room for one. That's behind the school, don't really want it there. How about, because we have a little bit of commercial demand here, we'll expand the high street down this way. So let's have this one here. I think we will rotate it though. We'll have it that way. And then let's have some very small commercial also going next door as well. Cool. This does have an upgrade, doesn't it? Extended storage. I don't think that's really needed at a town this size, is it? But at least we do have that post service now for people wanting to use it. They were complaining pretty relentlessly of no post coverage, so they should have that now. I'm also aware we do need extra education levels too, but these high schools I want to use aren't quite within our price range yet, so I reckon we'll set them up next episode as we begin to expand the town out this way. But otherwise, now we have our basic kind of field configuration set up. I want to come into all these little intricate spaces filled with props and trees and get some rocks around here as well. And maybe even a little pedestrian bridge that crosses the creek over to the farmland. And just generally tidy it up and see what else we can do to help bring what is a mock slash also slightly functional farmland to life. And I reckon we might also provide another highway connection into the town. Maybe from this road here, we can create another intersection over this way here. But either way, let's do some detailing, and then we'll be right back. Okay guys, let's have a little look around what's happened on Kokai's first farm, shall we? So starting at this intersection, we have come down and built a custom car park for our office space, and we've also drawn in some more office zoning behind it, which is now starting to build up. So a little out-of-town office park here. It's sitting really nicely against the highway, isn't it? Tons of fence work, of course, around at the edges of the road with tree work in between. And then little prop yards appearing. Love that we've got moving harvesters. How cool is that? If we kind of sit over here and just see the moving vehicles in the farmland, I really, really like that. Regardless, little prop work in between the farms here, just kind of fertilizers, trailers just left around farms and whatnot. Place some sprinklers in the fields. This is just a simple prop. Very, very cool. And then lots of texture work around our greenhouses over here. Did drop in some of the pig spawners, and they do walk through the fence and despawn. Maybe we can pretend it's a very high voltage electric fence. So as they come into contact with it, they are vaporized with high voltage electricity. And then there's also another little agriculture building over here with a break in the fence to replicate some kind of gate. Fields also extend over here against the tree line, and I absolutely love that sort of when you're, for example, if you lived here in this little block of apartments, you can just see that kind of field texture through the trees. Really nice kind of outer-lying, just sort of vista, I guess, isn't it, is the word I'm looking for. In the main farmyard, we have more prop work placing some of the big decorative buildings here. There's multiple silos, parked vehicles, sort of farmers' SUVs, a little bit of fusing going on here as well. Tanks that contain fertilizer, tractors, trailers parked up, silage, on-site shipping containers with maybe some little, safety barriers that are not in use and are just stored here. Plows as well in and amongst the fields that do have more of those sprinkler systems set up. And then this whole thing continues back toward the highway over here as well, with lots of separate demarcated fields. And I really love kind of the patchwork pattern going on here. Fits the area really nicely, doesn't it? Super happy with it. And then down toward here, we have another farmyard where we have more texture work. Simple farm props. Little plows over here too. Little chicken coop, which is very nice. And we do actually have a pathway through here. And this is an invisible path that people are using to get back into to work. And then just blended that texture in with some cracks on the concrete as it turns to dirt. As people do cross back over the creek back into the town of Sully, which is very nice. So cool to see the workers actually making use of this bridge rather than having to walk all the way down the high-speed road to actually get to work. There was a little bit of a shortcut there. And then further down this way, you'll notice there's a lot of traffic coming through here now. This is just a little simple kind of jug handle interchange, isn't it? Where people can't turn right here, or they can't turn left here as well. You have to take this slip to come down and across, just to help alleviate a little bit of the pressure over here, because this was starting to bottleneck a little bit. So nice to have another way into the city, and we'll certainly do another little intersection down this way as the town grows out to meet up with this road over here. And I think next episode we're going to get stuck into some high school action, create a little bit of a town centre for Sully, where there is the main high school, perhaps a little bit of high density commercial as well, some shopping, and our usual kind of parks and lots of detail around here as well. Now, maybe we can introduce another beach to this bay. That kind of seems like an appropriate spot for another beach, doesn't it? And incredibly cool, if not slightly creepy, to see people doing yoga singing into the sand. I think that's going to be hilarious forever, isn't it? I'm sure that's just a terrain issue because some people are walking on this no problem, and then they do sink down a little bit. So we'll have to look into a fix for that. But regardless, super cool to see people just walking across that open sand now. Really brings the beach to life, doesn't it? But I'm super happy with how this area has sat into the edge of Kokai, and we have our first specialized industry in the city now. Otherwise, I'll leave it there. I hope you have enjoyed the build today. A massive shout out to the patrons that do support the channel with a roll call for Louis Adlam. Thank you for all your support, guys. If you're interested in it, there's podcasts, early access, and loads more over on the Patreon, plus the instant gaming link down below as well if you are missing any games that you've not had a chance to play over the last few years. You can get them for a fantastic price that does directly help support these videos, so thank you very much if you do end up using it. And thank you so much for all the support on this brand new CS2 city as well. It's really nice to see you guys enjoying this much more slower paced, detailed approach to building out a city. We're just making so much less progress in a sense, aren't we, than we did with something like Edinburgh, just filling such a smaller space with lots more personality. Definitely my favourite way to play this game. And I'm glad that it's just a possibility now. But other than that, let's thank you all so much again for watching. And as always, enjoy the rest of your day.